Hello, welcome to the Evolutionary Biology course. We are in the Canvas course site, and I wanted to talk to you about how to navigate this course, walk you through some of the ways to approach this course, and give you a good idea of some tips, some tricks, anything to help you logistically manage this asynchronous course. So right now we are looking at the main course page. This will change weekly. What I like to do with this main page is to give you some tips and tricks for the module that we're going through. I like to give you some reminders, and then I like to post any due dates. The other thing that will stay consistent on this main course page is my office hours and location. I always have a little joke that I hope is connected to what we're going through. It's a little challenging sometimes in evolutionary biology to find appropriate jokes, but I always try to put a little something here, a little smile, a little giggle that connects in some way to what we are covering. I'll also keep key tips here. And one of the key tips that you're going to see all semester is to make sure that you are clearing your browser history and clearing your cookies on a weekly basis. One of the things that happens with the Canvas Eagle software is that it will lose functions if we're not clearing our browser history and cookies on a regular basis. This is true for me, this is true for you. So if you want to make sure that you're seeing all the images, that you're seeing everything that Canvas Eagle can do, you have to make sure that you are clearing the cookies and browser history on a regular basis. If you're not familiar with how to do that, stop by my office. I can show you. It takes all of 5 minutes. Reach out to the RVC IT team. Again, it's a quick learning curve to learn how to clear your browser history and cookies, and I encourage you to do that on a regular basis. I'll also put some other important tips here throughout the semester as well, and I'll keep them in red. So the way how this course is set up is it's set up according to modules. So when I click on modules, you can see that I already have the welcome module expanded. Within every module, you will have a set of lecture slides. With every set of lecture slides, there will be a short video. The videos are meant to go over concepts that I know students have struggled with in the past. It's a chance for me to go into detail and give you a slightly different perspective. My videos are done at home, and I debate on a regular basis whether or not I should make them more professional. But I've heard from a lot of students, and what they appreciate is they appreciate the authenticity. They also like the fact that in some of my videos, my cats will show up, and this can be very helpful if you're somebody who likes that sort of spontaneous interruption, or you just love to see cats and it makes you feel more connected. So the videos do have a level of casualness, but that doesn't take away from the information. I have a dry erase board. I'll be using that as if we were in a lecture hall. And I know for some of you just need to see my wiggly hands and my smile and my expression. And that's what helps you to remember the information. So make sure to watch those videos. They are meant to help you with things that I know can be more confusing. So we've got a set of lecture slides. I'm going to go to our Unit 1 module and download one of those lecture slides so you can see what this looks like. And the reason why I want to do this is I want to show you the tip and the trick that I strongly recommend for you to do. So when you click on the lecture slides, this is what you see in Canvas and Eagle. If you keep scrolling, you will see the lecture slides, but we have found that sometimes Eagle or Canvas won't show you everything. So it's a little bad habit in the software. To make sure that you're seeing everything in the lecture slides, you see I've got the little hand here, and I'm going to click on the link at the top of the page. I am going to download these lecture slides, and I'm going to open them up. This is what I want you to do. I want you to download and play the lecture slides. So I click on slideshow. I go from the beginning. Now I can play these lecture slides, and it's as if I were in class. Now, one of the things I will always do with the lecture slides is I will always have a set of review questions. So here we see the review questions for this first set of lecture slides. By the end of this set of lecture slides, You should be able to answer the question why we have made mistakes, what is evolution, how we make sense of the world, the scientific method review. You should be able to respond to these questions in deep detail. Please don't be superficial. If you see something like the scientific method, don't go, yeah, hypothesis, experiment, moving on. You know that you're going to need to know the details. So when it comes to something like the scientific method, make sure that you know what an observation is, how we're using our five senses, what it takes to write a hypothesis, some of the things that we're looking for, the prompts that we use when we write a hypothesis. When it comes to the experiment, make sure you know what independent and dependent variables are, control variables. Our conclusions are either correlation or causation, and then how we communicate. The concept of peer-reviewed journals, why that is so important, and how scientists make sure to get the message out. In this first slide, I also have some of the assignments that we're going to do that go along with these lecture slides. So the first thing that I want you to do whenever you open a module is I want you to download and play the lecture slides. I want you to take notes as if you were in class. So one of the things in this first lecture slide that you want to make sure you take a note on is the concept of interpretation. The idea that sometimes our senses betray us. We don't always see and perceive everything that is out there in reality, and that we have a filter that everything goes through. And that becomes really important when we start to look at what we ask questions about, how we start to interpret the data, and how we start to make sense of our world. We'll revisit this kind of concept throughout the semester, especially when we look at places where we had one understanding of a system, but we had to change that when we got new data and new evidence. And so that's going to be a consistent theme throughout this semester. So make sure when you're taking notes, if you see something bolded, highlighted, underlined, if I've gone so far as to make a goofy joke or add an additional picture, I'm trying to communicate to you that this concept is very important. This concept could be easy to overlook, but I want to make sure that it's sticking in your head and you're not just glossing over it at a superficial level. I try to send signals in these lecture slides about things that are important. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit just so you can see some of those situations. So here in this evolution overview lecture slide, we've got the term evolution bolded. Simple definition, changes of a line of descent over time. And then notice how I unpack that definition. I go into the details of what a change in of a line of descent can mean. And then I give you some examples of this concept of over time and how time is species specific. And we always need to take that into account. So these are some of the things that I try to do throughout the course and throughout the lecture slides. This is why it's so important that you make sure you download and play them. Make sure that you're taking notes as if you're in the lecture class itself. And you may even find yourself reading aloud or responding to the slides. Try to make it as interactive as possible. Educators and neuroscientists and cell biologists were all working on the same question. Why do so many of us need physicality? Why do so many of us need that interaction in order for things to click and stick, in order for us to truly learn? We don't have a good answer to that. Nobody does, whether it's from the cellular biology or from the education side of things. But what we do know is that the data and the evidence continues to show us. Most of us need to write things down. Most of us need to interact in some way. Most of us need to be engaged in order for things to click, stick, and for us to understand things. So the other weird thing is most of us need to revisit things over and over and over again. So sometimes your brain is just a little foggy. Sometimes you thought you understood something, but then you wake up the next day and it didn't quite all click together. It's okay to keep returning to things. So I hope that you will be able to work on this class over multiple days throughout the week. It is not my intention that you do all of the assignments and do everything on Saturday. I think that can get very overwhelming, and it's hard for brains to understand things, especially complicated concepts where we need to link things together. It's really hard for us to do that if we're trying to push and push and push and do everything all at once. So keep coming back, do things in little chunks. Make sure you've got physicality, make sure you've got engagement, especially since this is an online asynchronous class, so you're likely going to be doing this alone and by yourself. Make sure that you have some way to engage. All right, I'm going to close out of these lecture slides, and I'm going to go back to modules. So remember, all of our lecture slides are in our modules. Here with Unit 1, you can see the lecture slides I was just showing you, and we see the link to the video. Within our module, we also have our homework assignments. So homework assignments are meant to address a specific concept. This is one of those core concepts we hope you get from the course. So science class, pretty important that you remember the scientific method. So we've got an additional homework assignment that goes along with the scientific method. Please make sure to do the homework assignments after you've read the textbook chapter, after you have gone through the lecture slides. So I'm going to click on that homework assignment so you can see what it looks like. So I've got some instructions here about what to do. And this assignment will will ask you to access an article outside of the Canvas Eagle software. So I'm going to click on that link so you can see this is a Science Daily article I'm going to ask you to read in order to answer some questions and apply the scientific method. So the Science Daily site is great. It's run by scientists who are well equipped and knowledgeable in many different disciplines. And what they do is they go through the peer-reviewed research and summarize it. This way, we can get a quick overview of what the researchers did without having to get into the jargon and the specificity of the discipline. So I love it, but it is a secondary source, so very limited as far as the amount of information that we get. It is not a primary source, but it can help us to access the primary research if we want to know more information and go further. So for this assignment, I'm going to have you access that Science Daily article to answer the questions about the scientific method. One thing I need to explain about the Canvas Eagle software is it doesn't give me a lot of flexibility when I create assignments. So this is a homework. It is not timed. It is not actually a quiz, but Eagle is going to force me to call it a quiz. So please, please, please don't be deterred if you see this term quiz. It is not a quiz. It is a homework assignment. So homework assignments are low stakes. You can have your notes, you can have your friends, you can go to the internet. Please don't go to AI. Remember, I want to hear your voice, how you think about things. If you go to AI, you will have the same answer as everybody else, and you will learn nothing except for how to cut and paste. I'm pretty sure you're pretty good at cutting and pasting. So what I want to see is how you are interpreting things, how your brain is processing. That's why I'm asking these questions. So, homework assignments, lower stakes, give you a chance to go into depth and start to explore how well you know the concept. We do have true quizzes. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our Unit 1 quiz. True quizzes are timed. This first quiz, up here at the top, it shows us our time limit is 45 minutes. We've got our instructions. Notice in blue, I say that quizzes should be treated like mini exams. Study for them. So go through everything in Unit 1, study, answer those review questions, make sure you have all of the terms defined, make sure you feel solid in the information before you sit down for the quiz. If you have done this, then your quiz can be the tool we hope for it to be. It can send you signal about what you know, and more importantly, send you signal about things that you're struggling with, where there might be misconceptions, places where you might still be too superficial and need to be at a deeper level of detail. So use these quizzes like a tool. That is what they are intended to be. Asking yourself, what do I know? What don't I know? So when you click on the quiz, the timer will start. You can't stop and return later, so you have to complete the quiz in one session. You'll notice that in the title of the quiz, I call it a quiz. This way you know for sure that this is a true quiz If something is not called a quiz, it is